Welcome, everybody, to the Trader's Edge live stream brought to you by Tradier. I got my good friend Tommy Grisafi with me today. Jimmy is in sunny Italy, and I was asking somebody earlier, why does he call it sunny Italy? I mean, it's late April. Almost everything is sunny. Is that just his disposition in there? I mean, what do you think?
Jimmy just has a positive attitude, right? He definitely looks at the glass half full. And I tell you what, April month in review, uh, depending on how you were looking at things, you could have made some horrible decisions financially, or maybe
Yeah.
they could have been great decisions. We're probably going to talk about all that in the show, right?
Yeah, we are. I'm super happy to have you. By the way,
Thank you.
Agbo, before we get into it with Mike, where can people find you once they fall in love with you after the show, like I do every time I talk to you?
Agbo Media on any social medias. Agbo is the media company. I'm a commodity broker and a commodity trader. I own a seat at the Board of Trade, old school, went on a high school field trip. There you go. And now we're still there. Now we're in mom's basement. As Scotty always says on the Cow Guy, Tommy coming live from his mom's basement. Agbo Media, any social media, and of course, click on anything, search my name, you'll be able to find me. If you go to my website, www.agbo.com, there's a QR code. My personal cell phone's on there. Give me a call.
It's going to be nice to mix this conversation in with some soft commodities, which we don't talk about enough, in my opinion. But our guest today is Mike Lee from Mike Lee Strategies. Again, Jimmy is not here. He is in sunny Italy, which again, it's late April. Pretty much everything's sunny. But we are looking at some S&B strength. So let's get Mike in here and talk about this. I really wish I could have gotten that changed in time to put your face in there instead of Jimmy's just for once. But Mike Lee of Mike Lee Strategies, welcome, man. It's good to see you again.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. Just got a massive beat from what you call it, from Microsoft. So
Microsoft. So this is new, guys. We have a newsletter now. It's myself, it's Jimmy, and a guy I've been business partners with for a long time, Mike Arnold, who's an unbelievable technical analyst. The three of us, we always joke around as Jimmy's. The beginning of the newsletter starts with Jim's 3 cents, and that's because he feels he's too smart to do 2 cents. So it's his 3 cents and what he's talking about. And one of our things this week in the newsletter was watch Microsoft after earnings, because if we get a close above 395, it's got a pretty strong chance of going higher. Mike, you mentioned they had a huge beat. What are you seeing there?
Let's see where we are. It's up right now it's up 6%. So they beat on cloud.
Okay.
Right? And like this, them beating on the cloud is just like breaking hearts worldwide because the naysayers around the AI trend that's going on in the world, like this, it preceded the tariff tantrum. And like for a lot of your viewers that don't really follow this stuff, don't really know, like the growth and momentum factor trade after NVIDIA's earnings in February just absolutely devastated the market. And like really, when you have individual pods and hedge funds blowing up left and right, everybody's money line gets reduced, because if a hedge fund is down year to date, they don't want to be down more, because it could go multiple years without taking a profit share, or as a carry, as the fancy guys call it. So that sucked a lot of air out of the market. And then when you came into the tariff tantrum, which we've basically more than recovered from now, it really, like, this has just been a long couple of months for those that, I've gone from counting gray hairs to counting dark hairs left. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely two of the longest months of my life. But like, we're back, baby. We're back.
We are so back.
Tommy is
America.
You guys don't know
America.
Tommy's acting as co-host here, not as a guest, although I'll probably have some questions for Tommy here too. But Tommy, you've interviewed Mike before, have you not?
Yeah, all the time. So Mike is my favorite guy to have in the Cow Guy. I know when he comes on, he's usually going to lose his feed, and then he'll be like, "I'll be right back." And so I know, because Mike travels as much as anyone. So Gina's like, "How did you keep talking after he left?" I go, "When I know." One thing Scott taught me on Cow Guy is write what you're going to talk about for 3 minutes if you lose your guest. So every time I go on, they're like, who's the lineup? Mike. I'm like, oh my God, if he leaves, we're going to talk about interest rates, which we're going to talk a lot about this hour. So yeah, Mike's a fan favorite and always, the cool thing, kudos to Scott. They just took the show to an hour, and it's really cool what him and Ashley and the whole crew down there at RFD. And it's a privilege that all of us get to go on that. And, it didn't exist a few years ago. So it's another avenue for people to get educated. But Scott always says it's, the show isn't good because of him. It's good because of the guest. And that guest is Mr. Mike Lee and yourself and others. So always fun.
Something you guys may not know that are watching live for the first time. Tommy will guest host for Scott on a show called The Cow Guy Close, which you just mentioned. Goes for an hour now. It's on RFD TV, which is that's a fairly regional cable station, right? I mean, it's in the center of the country.
It's in a lot of rural places, so it's pretty much on every network except for Comcast, which is huge, right? Comcast is huge. So they're on DirecTV, they're on Dish. I watch them through the app, so I pay the $10 a month. I went for a walk today before the show, and I hit the RFD app, and that's what's happening, guys. Everything's going pay to play as you start watching different things. Everyone's, whether it be Tucker Carlson or RFD TV, whatever, there's a button, you hit it on your phone and you go. And that's why a show like this, the fact we're live streaming to all our social medias is so valuable to people out there. And that's why you're going to have thousands of people watching today.
So I am a regular on there. I'm on there every Wednesday. I think it's 1:40 Eastern time now. Tommy is a regular there. Regular guest host. Are you a regular guest as well, Tom? Or just
yeah, that's how it started. Yeah, and then now I've moved to Nashville part-time, so I have a place in downtown Nashville, and the company on the banner behind me, Nesvik Trading, is based out of Nashville and Memphis, and it's a bunch of commodity traders. I had no idea. Let's talk about this for a second. Because of DTV and Scott is how I found Nesvik Trading. Matter of fact, we'll deep dive into it. Our boy Jared Dillion had a book signing in Nashville 1 year ago in April. I went to the book signing. I met the owners of Nesvik. They said, would you ever consider moving to Nashville and trading down here? And I said, I don't see that on my bingo card. But as we know, with the month of April, bingo, you never know what's going to pop up in bingo markets, a Trump tweet, a True Social tweet, whatever. So now I spend 2 weeks a month in Nashville, live down there, work down there, get the guest host for RFD, and let Scott take a couple of days off and Tony St. James. So absolute pleasure to be there. Did not know this is how my life would turn out, but it's a very positive thing. And yes, there is a huge trading community right there in downtown Nashville. You get to trade in old school like we used to do. Remember we'd trade at the board and we'd go to series? Well, imagine trading down the block from 100 series bars and restaurants. That's what it's like to trade on Broadway. So
that's honestly the last thing I need. Mike, you're a regular. Do you have a regular spot, or you just go on a lot, Tara?
I know Friday. I'm like Friday. Usually second guest. I think I'm going to be Thursday. Now that they moved to an hour, but this week I'm on the road. I'm going to be in New York next couple days.
So Jimmy's got a regular spot on there as well. I think he's Thursdays. It might be Fridays as well. But Mike, you've been on this AI trade, and now it's bouncing. I actually, in our newsletter, which those of you guys that are watching it on X, the link to our newsletter is in my bio. It's also one of Jimmy's pinned tweets. I talked about Mag 7 this week, and I'm talking about the ETF, MAGS, rather than the individual stocks. But you've been involved in the individual stocks. Am I right on that?
Oh yeah, and the sectors. We just got a blowout from Facebook too. I refuse to call it Meta because I will never be a member of the metaverse. But anyway,
you call Twitter X or Twitter?
I got to call it Twitter because I'm
fair enough.
when I say X, like I'm not sure if I'm talking about X marks the spot or something I'm not allowed to say out loud. But
OnlyFans, that's the OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, Twitter.
Yeah,
so,
look at this,
all right,
this Meta thing.
Tell us about the AI trade that you've been on.
So primarily, I run money for high net worth individuals. Most of them 50s, 60s, 70s. And the primary equity vehicle I've been using for the last decade are ETFs. So my biggest position has been XLC, which is communication sector. So that's Google and Facebook are in their second biggest XLC. The third biggest position in my book, not by design, but by, well, I guess you could say it's by design, is Palantir. And started really actively buying Palantir at 15. And like now, I think we went out today close to 120, and that's like 15 months. And for those of you that don't really understand like what's going on with AI, and it's not like like I always think of AI as soon as somebody says it is Terminator 2, right? Like here comes the T-1000 running after me. In reality, it's just better Facebook ads, right? Like that's or doing things faster, or a paralegal putting together documents in seconds, not hours, right? That's what it is, and it's just going to speed up everything. And the amount of data that is created is on a wild exponential chart. And like, to put it in perspective, if you take every piece of data that was ever created or collected from the beginning of the history of time until the end of the year 2003, we collect that every single weekend or every 2 days. Now, before you know it, it's going to be a day. There was a prediction about this in 2019 that the amount of data we were collecting on a daily basis was going to happen in 2030 actually happened in 2024. So it's happening much faster. And there's so much pressure in the C-suite of every single public company out there to utilize AI. And, so you take, follow that trend backwards. Well, first of all, everybody's got to do it. It makes complete sense. This is not the internet. All of the street has been gun shy about explosive tech since the dot-com boom, right? And they've been skeptical and behind on it. And so I see this from clients that are selling. I have clients that work for the largest cloud enterprise software. They're selling it left and right. They cannot keep up with demand. You see the quarters that NVIDIA had 2 years ago, their first quarter and second quarter, largest beats in the history of the market. You're like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then you realize, holy moly, we are in the first or second inning, and this game is going to go on way beyond what most people think. And so you start looking at it like this, and it's like, okay, let's get going. And so what happened a couple of months ago, so that trade has been spectacular. And Palantir, where Palantir feeds in that food chain is you have these large language models. There's two types. There's learning and there's inference. And the way that I like to explain this just very briefly is the learning model is like the three of us get together with a 3D printer, pull a patent off the internet, a Black & Decker patent, and try to make a table saw. Okay, we can do it. It's going to take time and energy. Okay, and then the inference model would be somebody using that table saw. Like not everybody can use it, but very commoditized, and both of them will be completely commoditized over time. So where the juice really comes in is finding a software provider that can apply it specifically to your business, make it work from you, show ROI on day one. Okay, two providers out there that do it: ServiceNow, okay, and to a much greater extent is Palantir. And these are the smartest guys in the world. They have a 20-year head start. So I loaded up on that stock, and now it is a massive position in my book. But like I'll also own individual in Facebook, Google, Meta, not quite the Mag 7 trade per se, but this whole AI trade. So NVIDIA, Marvel, AMD, and Broadcom, because as data gets bigger, as these LLMs get bigger, you need more compute. So compute is the power you get from these NVIDIA GPUs, and these NVIDIA GPUs have just thrown Moore's law like out the window. Instead of a double every 18 months or every year or two, it's like a 5x or a 10x every 12 months. And like that's just happening so fast. And do you think the pace of data creation is going to slow down? No, it's increasing exponentially. Do you think the functionality of AI is going to slow down? No, it's going to increase exponentially. So all these naysayers out there are basically thinking the largest technological turning point in the history of time is just going to stop, or it's going to slow because some companies last quarter met capacity constraints. So right now, NVIDIA has a 15-to-1 demand to sales. So for every GPU they sell, they have demand for 15. And you're looking at similar stats to everybody else. So when Microsoft just beat on their cloud estimates, last quarter, they grew the cloud year over year at 31%, 31.9. The market wanted 33.1. And it crushed the stock. So they beat today. But Microsoft said, we literally can't build these data centers fast enough. We're running up capacity constraints. Okay, but that blew up the momentum factor, that blew up the growth factor. It sucked a lot of air out of the market, and we're finally seeing that air come back in. And so, look, we're going to get good guidance from Google. We're going to get, or we already got great guidance from Google. We're going to get good numbers from NVIDIA when they come out, and you're going to get good numbers from AMD and Marvel. Like, this is just going to keep happening for years. And so I like NVIDIA right now, in my estimation, is trading about 17 times earnings. You have a historical multiple of 35 to 40. So I feel a lot better today than I did, like, say, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We can hear it in your voice. I like it.
But yeah, like, and what I was saying to people last summer, regardless how the election goes, even though I was telling people in all my speaking engagements, it's like, this Trump's going to win, this is why he's going to win. Whatever goes on with these tariffs, whatever goes on anywhere, like, this AI trend is just not stopping, right? It's going to be volatile because these are the highest beta stocks, and they attract all the momentum investing, which by default, like, when something bad happens somewhere else in the world, they sell off. But if you can ride the waves, like, this is a generational opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I got a question for you. I just recently gave each of my daughters some money to put in a stock account, and they want to go buy Lululemon or some other BS. They don't know no better, which, although Lululemon was a great stock for a long time, and because of my two girls, I could see why it is. They spend more on stretchy pants than essentially they're buying $120 pairs of underwear. But with that, if you have two young girls, 22, 20 years old, whatever, and you're going to throw 10 grand each in a stock account, what's a couple stocks these young ladies should buy and just hold them? Just forget it. 2 shares of this, 1 share of that, 1 share of this, and then why?
So, I'm inclined to say take the whole 10 grand and put it in Palantir.
Old boy ain't messing around. He took all the chips and bet it on.
I'll tell you why. So this year they're expecting the software market for AI is supposed to be about 60 billion. Okay, Palantir is going to do between 4 and 5 billion in revenue. So they call it an 8 to 9% market share. Okay, ServiceNow CEO thinks that market's going to be $1 trillion in 2030. So if they just keep that same market share, which I don't think they're going to do, I think they're going to grow their market share. If that number is $1 trillion, like, even if you cut it in half, and if they're 10%, so they're going to go from 4 to 40 billion in revenue in 5 years. Like, where do you think that stock goes, right? And like, their capex is so small because they've been working on this for 20 years. Like, and the more work you do in the company, you see how unbelievable it is. And they don't have a traditional sales force where they have, like, some guy like me that's like a fast talking, beer drinking, steak buying guy saying, "Hey, Jimmy, let's get out." They basically take, like, the guys that work in Doge, like Mr. Big Balls, and some of the smartest engineers in the world that, college is a waste of time for, and they call them forward deployed engineers. They put them right in your company, and they're sitting there saying, "Okay, how can I get you the highest ROI on your software investment on day one?" There's never been anything like this from a software perspective other than Salesforce. But anybody who's implemented Salesforce, you spend $5 billion on an enterprise contract with Salesforce, you're going to spend $10 million the first year implementing it into your business. Okay, that doesn't exist. And like, there's no ROI on that. Maybe year 2, year 3, or 4, you're starting to see some real effect of having Salesforce in your business. Palantir, the things that they've done for the companies, and just we'll go back, the fall of 22, they had no hospital. They've only had an enterprise product since the fall of 2022, but they got into the hospital market. And so they went into a couple of emergency rooms in the Bronx. And within the first 30 days, they optimized the patient flow of coming in, getting them care, and getting them out to free up a day and a half of bed space for the entire ER. So they had a 0% market share in December of 2022 in hospitals. Now they're doing 1 out of every 4 emergency rooms, or 1 out of every 4 beds in emergency rooms across the country. Like this isn't an accident. There's never been anything like this before. I don't know that we'll ever see anything like this again. But I'd split that maybe between Palantir and Bitcoin, because I am now, I have been, and I will be a Bitcoin believer.
All right, so I want to ask you something about the Magnificent Seven. One of the things that I mentioned really quickly before we went live here is that I like Roundhill Investments MAGS ETF. And the reason is because I don't have the ability to pick the winners here. Now, MAGS 7, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, and NVIDIA, right? Who is going to be, if there's going to be one, who's going to be the underperformer there? Who's going to be the loser there? Like if you wanted to make a MAG 6 out of that, who would you take out? Would it be Tesla?
I think it's Netflix,
Okay.
right? I'm like, this is like also like what I would say almost a generational opportunity for Tesla. So just so people don't understand the bull case for Tesla, it seems like it's completely disconnected from its earnings. But with Tesla, a month from now, you're going to be able to take a robo-taxi, level 4 autonomous driving ride in a Tesla taxi in Austin, Texas. Okay. That will roll out nationwide at some point, whether that's 6 months, a year, 2 years. Okay. They also have a $30,000 car coming out at some point next calendar year. Okay. And what you'll be able to do with that car, maybe it's a year from now, maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 3 years from now, is when you're not driving that car, you'll be able to allow your Tesla to go out and do robo-taxi drives with it so you can make your car payment. So if you're someone with meager means or you're just cheap, but you want to have a brand new car, and by the way, I just bought my first Tesla. It's the most spectacular thing I have ever owned. It will go out and do robo-taxi rides, so you have a second source of income, or you just make your car payment. But this is going to create a SaaS revenue stream for what is an automobile company. Okay, so they're going to sell a ton of these $30,000 cars because it'll be exponentially the best car on the road for that price point. All right, like I don't know how many other $30,000 new cars you can buy, but you certainly can't. Nothing will be remotely of that category. Okay. And then they have these robots coming out that'll clean your house, and you'll be able to lease them for like $400 or $500 a month. So you pay a cleaning lady, once a week, $100 to come clean your house. How about someone there 24/7 for the same price? Right. And like, maybe you don't want like a robot in your house. I mean, that's up to you. But I think the good part is that like that robot will listen to my wife where I won't. Right.
It's funny you say that. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Amazon, especially in this particular time, to get them out of the Mag 7. I was doing some research on them because there's all the concern, obviously, about the products they get from China. And I tweeted or X'd, whatever you want to call it, the other day that it's time to, something I've preached for a while now. Commonly available products, Walmart tends to be 5 to 20% cheaper than Amazon anyway. So if you're willing to wait a day, if you're willing to order your paper towels when you've got 2 rolls left instead of when you got 1 roll left, Walmart's a smarter choice anyway. Now they also have some products being done in China, but not as much. And then you've got Costco, where 70% of their Kirkland brand is sourced here, not in China. So you've got all these competitors to Amazon that I think are going to beat them up if this trade war goes on longer than either the US or China wants. So do either of you guys think that there's light at the end of the tunnel? We've got a trade conversations that the US says there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and China says they're not even happening.
And with that, while we're talking, guys, the stock market's just exploding. I just looking at my phone, S&Ps are up big, NASDAQ up big after hours after being down. So the smart money's betting on that the world isn't ending, correct? Regardless of, like, if you ask me, from the price of corn, wheat, beans, commodities I trade, they look horrible. And if we're supposed to bundle all these ag things together, Japan's going to come over here, cut a deal with us, and hopefully they're going to leave with corn and wheat or something, right? They talk about it, but nothing's really happening, and that part's a little scary to me.
Yeah, from an Amazon perspective, it's still like the growth engine. Like it's what's driving that stock is the cloud, right? And I just don't see their cloud business even close to falling apart. Like there's too much juice behind it, and like there's a stock that came public, quite possibly the worst time a stock could ever go public, and it's called CoreWeave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Um,
aware of that.
So CoreWeave did, 2 years ago they did 228 million in revenue. Last year they did 1.9 billion. This year they're going to do 8 billion, and next year they're going to do between 12 and 16 billion. Okay, this is at like a 40% gross margin. The stock is trading at like 4 or 5 times earnings.
Mm-hmm.
They are a pure play cloud provider, and like holy moly, like what a steal if I've ever seen one. And it kind of goes back to the street just not really believing in this AI trade, not really understanding the demand for compute and what's happening on these servers. And it's like Microsoft and Google are using CoreWeave because they're offloading, because they're pushing their excess capacity on there. Like there is no catching up with this. It's going to be a perpetual build, 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 build. Maybe at some point we get so efficient that we don't need the building anymore. But it seems like right now that's like years away, not quarters away, the way the street is pricing it. So I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it, which is Netflix, because their proprietary content is just not that good. But I like have had that subscription for what? I don't know. Going back to like what I get my DVDs, and like you're watching the series of 24, and like you gotta wait till you send 3 out, you gotta wait till the next 3 come back, So
I do know that.
I don't know. I don't know how Netflix keeps doing it, but they do.
It is a strange thing. Like I've gotten rid of everything. I've gotten rid of Disney, Hulu. Still have Amazon because Prime comes with the Amazon Prime service. But I don't have the commercial free Amazon. I don't have Paramount anymore. I don't have Peacock anymore. Still have Netflix, and I don't know why. It's just like the go-to when I just want stupid sound in the background. It goes to Netflix.
How do you not have Paramount?
Like I don't have Paramount.
They got Landman. They got that show Linus.
Okay, yeah. I watch all the Taylor Sheridan stuff. I'll explain how I do it offline. But I have all that stuff.
He's got a guy. He's got a guy.
Yay!
That's my last name. It's pretty easy and it's pretty cheap. But yeah, I basically have Paramount. I just don't have Paramount. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but no one from Paramount's watching us anyway. Tommy, I got to ask you, the ag thing here. Obviously, we're fighting with China. One of the big sort of proclamations of victory during Trump 45 was all the agricultural products are going to be bought by China now to sort of try and begin to even out the trade deficit, at least on the ag side. What does this look like in the ag world? Is the agricultural world worried about what's going on? You just kind of mentioned that the charts are terrible and you hate to see them.
Yeah, China didn't, to President 45, China didn't really buy that much stuff.
They said they were going to. They never did it, right?
And they Chinaed us, right? That's what they do. And they buy what they need. And so China is extremely dependent on everybody but America. We'll say ABA, everyone but America, which makes the rest of the world have to come to America. So if China runs down to South America, buys all their beans, and the rest of the world goes to South America to buy beans, the price goes up, the basis goes up. So we become more competitive. So there's X amount of people in the world. They need to eat. There's X amount of animals in the world. They need to eat. And regardless of these trade wars, there's not a single hog in China that knows Trump just tweeted on True Social, doesn't know that the Treasury Secretary was on Maria Bartiromo, could give a shit, right? And so there's, if you just look at it from calorie consumption, there's not a lot of people eating less because of China. Now, you could play that people are eating less because of weight loss shots or something like that. 6-8% of America are on those, and maybe they're consuming less calories. But in general, I walk around, everyone's still as chunky as could be, and doesn't look like preserving calories is the deal. Now, you said you went all carnivore, you lost 30 pounds, you look amazing. Yep. One guy from another guy, you're so handsome. If I wasn't married, you'd be my second choice, right? But most people aren't doing that. When I walk on Broadway in Nashville, most people are definitely plus size models and could have a good career doing that. And so calorie consumption overall is up. People are still eating bad foods, regardless of who's the health secretary, everything else. And people are going to eat. So the headline would make you think, oh my God, sell soybeans, China's not going to buy them. the soybean markets gently rallied and said, you know what, there's other things going on in the world. I think we'll be the last to know. If we do cut a deal, it'll spike the market. I don't see anything in the grain markets coming into the end of the month of April or going into the beginning of May that says, wow, they really front run that big signing of that trade deal. We've had some horrible days in grains in the month of April.
So I was asked by Scott today, again, talking about the show, the three of us are all on. Jimmy has a regular spot too. This is Cow Guy Close. I was asked to grade the first 100 days. So I don't know if you guys caught that. You were probably busy doing stuff that was important rather than watch me on TV. But where would you guys put it? Mike, I'll go to you first. Where would you put the grade for the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, number 47?
Well, look, you know,
A, B, C, D, A minus, B plus, whatever.
so you know, you got to look at all these things on a curve, right? So compared to Corn Pop's arch enemy, Joe Biden, I'd give it like
Still my favorite video.
a 1,000 of 100. Compared to Trump 1.0, I'd give it like an A plus. But compared to kind of like where I thought we could be and where we would be, you know, just following this stuff closer than I should, probably like a B plus. Like, awesome, but like really, you know, there's a lot left to be done, and a lot of judges just deciding that, like, you know, it's like they're all Sylvester Stallone. I am the law. You know what I mean? So, but like, look, all that stuff will pass, and like, I don't think they're, you know, from what I hear and what I'm watching, like, I don't think they're going to lose momentum. I think a lot more is going on behind the scenes. I think they got to do that. They need to put some other people out on TV more often. Like, it's, you know, so Trump was on ABC yesterday, and the guy's like so anxious to defend a Maryland man, if you know what I mean. But like, there's a lot of really dynamic people in this administration that need to walk in the belly of the beast, get their talking points out in the places that a lot of boomers only watch Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, CBS. Right? They're not watching Rumble. They're not streaming stuff. They don't have the Tucker Carlson app. Right? Like, they're just, so they have people that can articulate the message that just need to be out there, and they need to fight fire with fire.
Tommy?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. They've tried to do, well, first of all, from someone who digests a lot of news when I'm trading personally, and then someone who does a little bit of news, the news cycle is, let's be honest, guys, 10x what it used to be. Yeah. I mean, this month of April, there were several nights where I was, you know, just traded all day, went to bed for 2 hours, got back up, traded all night. And I haven't done that since the pandemic. And with the Truth Social and the way information comes out. The other interesting thing about the Trump administration, it's not just President Trump delivering the information. It could come from a Treasury Secretary. It can come from Ludnick. You know, what? Boom. Like, I think he's given the Ag Secretary, she'll say things. I'm like, I can't believe she's saying that. They're very high level. We're going to do this, and you'll see when President Trump does this. Like, she almost projects what's coming down the pipe. And this is nothing like the first Trump administration. They are way more organized. I think this is going to sound weird. I think it's a blessing to, it's not going to sound weird to you two, but it was a blessing he lost 4 years ago. It was wonderful that he was president. It was wonderful he lost. It's wonderful he's president again, because this time it is so much different and so much more mature. The amount of stuff they're doing, and at the pace and rate they're doing it, there's parts flying. It's wild. It's like watching cars go around the track and they get a little bump around the corner. There's parts flying, but if they can keep going, it's going to be awesome. If you love America and you got a 10-year view on America, this is going to be the best damn thing ever happened. If you are some freak who watches your portfolio daily because you think you're going to retire and you're running out of money and you're never even going to spend the money that Mike made you, then you're just a loser and you're not seeing what's happening here. And if you're a father who has daughters in girls' sports, you're going to have a different opinion than someone who never got married and had kids. So wherever you are on the spectrum, I have to fight for my family and what I think's right for my wife and kids, not what someone who never had kids thinks, should be doing. So it's not just what's happening financially, it's what's happening at the border, it's what's happening in sports, it's what's happening in our right for religious views. There's so many things. That's my view. Now, if you had someone with a different temperament on the show, they would go say why all those things were bad. What do you guys think?
Well, before I comment on that, I just want to put something up real quick that we need to get through here at the center of the show. This show is, of course, hosted by Tradier, and Tradier is giving 3 months free of Tradier Pro. All you got to do is sign up for it. Doesn't cost anything. Doesn't pay Jimmy and I anything. Just for the record on that, Tradier sponsors this show. So if you are especially an options trader, any of it, really, micro indices, commissions on micros, only 35 cents, $100 intraday margins on micros and the futures. This is a very good deal and a good opportunity for you to get at and look into a pro platform. We have had options experts on the shows, guys, and we bring this banner up and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know this was Tradier. Yeah, I actually use them." So it's not just us talking, but I wanted to put that up. Now, in terms of what you just said, Tommy, without getting away from markets too much, one of the things that drove me crazy, I stopped being on CNBC back in around 2006, 2007, when I basically told them to go F themselves because they wanted me to represent something opposite of what I believe. Now, this is not a big ethical, moral quandary I was in. Okay. They said to me, we're going to cover crude oil today. I said, great. I look at crude oil all the time. And then they called me with 15 minutes before they hit. And they said, hey, we're switching to copper. You need to give us a copper trade. I said, copper's up like 9%. I'm not trading copper up 9%. And they said, well, that's your role here. You got to give us a trade. The other guy's giving fundamentals and you got to give us a trade. I said, I wouldn't trade copper up 8, 9%, whatever it was. And they said, well, you have to. I said, okay, fine. I came on the show and I said, if copper's down 8.9%, I might buy it. That was my trade. And they called me and they got all mad at me and they started bitching at me. I'm like, well, you know what? Stop scheduling me because I'm not doing this. I'm the one who's got to sleep at night, and I worry about something I always said about those of us that have been on TV. All three of us have, is that the people are smart enough to know what we were saying. They have their own plans for what they're going to do. And the people who aren't smart enough to know what we're saying, I don't really want them listening to a 30 or 45-second soundbite and then planning their portfolio on that. I want them using Nesvik brokerage. I want them using Mike Lee strategies, Tradier. I want them going to places that actually help them. So I stopped being on CNBC. Then I stopped watching CNBC. Now I have Bloomberg up on mute all the time just for headlines. What do I see? Chaos here, chaos there. Every single headline is negative. Every single one. And it drives me crazy because as a market professional, I know that it's propaganda. I know it is. Stocks prior to the rally we just had are where they were May 24th of last year, prior to the rally we're having right now in the futures. So people are like going on social media and elsewhere and saying, everybody's worried about their retirements. Like, did you just start planning for your retirement in June of 2024? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're down. Yeah, we're down. But if you go back to 2022, we were down. If you go back to 2020, we were down. So where am I crazy on this? Is it just propaganda, or do they actually just try and get clicks and get views? Which is it?
So I got a couple things. Yeah. I saw Steve Eisman. I saw a clip of him on CNBC because, it's that network is like pretty hard to watch at almost all times. But Steve Eisman was playing The Big Short by Steve Carell. And he had a great line, which, I've been saying, and then I'm glad he said it because he's way smarter than me. We're all given the same economics textbook. I got it when I was a senior in high school, and most people get it when they're a freshman in college. It's just like tariffs are the devil. So you ever see Waterboy with Bobby Boucher? His mom is a foosball's the devil. We're told tariffs are the devil. They are the worst thing a free trading economy can do. And if you put tariffs in, it will destroy the world. They contributed to the Great Depression, and only an idiot would do tariffs. Well, like it's just patently false. And so a lot of the negative headlines is just people's knee-jerk reaction. This is what I was taught in school. This is what we've always done. This is what we've always believed. Okay. And they just don't recognize the fact that these tariffs exist everywhere else in the world. And I have yet to see the Armageddon that they caused, or the fact that they were the primary driver of revenue for the United States from the 1790s until the 1960s. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. The Great Depression had nothing to do with tariffs. 9,000 banks failed. 1 in 5 depositors lost everything. Okay. Like it's uncomparable. It's unimaginable, the propaganda we've been told our whole life. So for a lot of people, they think they're doing the right thing. And then also in the era of Trump, if it's raining outside, it's his fault. If it's sunny outside, it's climate change and the world's going to end. But the thing about Armageddon, it only happens once. So buy the dip.
I like that. Tommy, in terms of your thought on this, I think I know where you stand on this, but do you see it as propaganda, or do you just see it as we need to keep people interested and we need clicks?
I'd say the dollar flows to media, Trump and media destroyed media, but the Trumps really helped destroy media. So media thought they could pull the election. So if you look up all the major networks, even if the host may have a conservative stance, usually the owners of the show are liberal. And they all bet against ruining this guy. And when you say ruining him, you also mean all the people who voted for him. And so after what we watched happen in the 20 election, by 24, they really went all in that, he's a felon, he's this, he's that. And when he won, then what does media have to stand on, right? So as you watch Tucker Carlson come out of nowhere, get fired from Fox, whatever, I don't know how his last day went, but good for him. You get goons like me paying $8 a month to subscribe to him, and Mike and whoever else does it, right? You got your Secret Service that gives it to you, but we're paying, and all of a sudden it's changed. So my order flow, if you're a trader or if you understand, people used to pay for order flow. In the old days, when our parents were telling us to run to get the clicker, or actually when I was real little, my old man smoking a Pall Mall, and I would be the channel changer, right? I was the clicker, and your choices of channels were limited to 2, 5, 7, 32, whatever. You had big old rabbit ears on your TV. It's not like that anymore. If you have a phone, an iPhone, an iPad, and Android, any source of internet in any way, you can be connected to some really cool media, and you get to choose. Right now, we all tweeted on our platforms, and then we put on our YouTubes. There are thousands of people watching this, I suppose, right? And that's their choice to watch this. In the old days, the way media was set up from the original days of AM and FM radio and then into TV, if you take everything Mike Lee said in the beginning of this, of how technology is changing at 5x, 10x, he can just blast us with, statistics. That's what's happening in media. And media, instead of going and asking people, what would you like? Media keeps shoving shitty food down their throat and saying, you're going to like this, eat this shit. And people are like saying, screw you. I cancel DirecTV. I cancel the ESPN. And my kids are like, oh, we used to watch Secretariat on Disney. Well, not anymore. Go buy it on Prime. I don't care. I will never subscribe to some of those networks, right? Because they're not going to get my $10, $12. And we get to now vote with our pocketbook versus being assigned what we get to watch. And you take what Mike said, with everything changing at the speed of light, media's changed forever. And the only people who don't know it is media, because they're not asking what their clients want. That was long-winded, but that's how I feel.
Well, just so you know, I got a guy. So
we're kind of set us up. Set us up, my friend.
Guys up. I'll take care of you. So Mike, I want to go over again. I talked about us having the newsletter. So the open positions, we're long Walmart, we're long SSR mining, which we don't have to talk about that one. Also long MicroStrategy. Now we gave out signals this week to potentially buy Costco, Microsoft, and Meta. Okay, so we're on the same page on a lot of those. I'd like to get your opinion on MicroStrategy. But can I read you my watch list?
Yeah.
And off the top, do your best Kramer impression and tell me what you like and what sucks. Because it's not going to change whether we buy them or not. No disrespect, because most of what we do is going to be technical. So here's the watch list. AMD, Vale. Okay, perfect. Vale, which is a minor.
So miners are taking off. This gold trend's not ending.
NEM, which is also a minor. So we already have that. ABL, which honestly, I don't remember who that is. GE Vernova.
Yes.
Okay, that's another yes. I got to look at who ABL is. I'm the one who put that on there. I don't remember.
I'll
Abacus Global Management. Oh, what am I doing with that? I'm taking that off. Let's see what else we got here. Rigetti Computing is on the watch list. Quantum.
Oh, yes. So that's quantum computing. I got to do some homework on that because my Irish brain can only fit so many things in there. We're full of AI.
And Mike, you do a lot of jiu-jitsu too, right?
Yes.
So to say he gets his thrown around and gets his head knocked around, we're lucky we even have him here today.
Yeah, well, you know,
to get good at that, you got to take a beating. I got a buddy who does that, and there are no easy workouts. Like you literally go into class to get hurt, right? And then you come out and get patched up.
You know, fortunately, most guys that do jujitsu are like 5'8", 5'9", $170, and I'm like 6 feet, 255. So like, you know, they're probably talking about getting beat up by me.
All right, here's the last two. Eli Lilly.
You know, these drug makers, I'm not good at them. So don't take my word on that.
Fair enough. John
Deere.
Deere.
Drugs, kids.
Yeah, John Deere, like I like it. You know,
I mean, John Deere. What do you think, Brett?
A friend of mine on the internet, Grain Stats, he's wonderful. He has a corn chart overlaid on John Deere, and John Deere just goes up like this, and corn comes down like this. The people growing the corn aren't making the money, but the people making the equipment to harvest it are kicking butt. So, you know, ride it till it doesn't work.
So I'm assuming you agree for the most part with the Meta, the Microsoft, those particular recommendations. How do you feel about Costco?
So look, Costco, they just keep winning, right? I'm not. So the Costco, Walmart, Amazon part of the consumer, like, look, I just don't know. I'm like still waiting for this inflation to catch up and bite the consumer, and we just haven't seen it. Maybe that's because we're just so top heavy. And so the concern there was like with this market pullback, what's that going to do to the high end? But like this market, like if you fell asleep a month ago and you woke up today, you're like, oh, I'm up at 1%. How about that? Nice little April. Meanwhile, those that were awake every day, again, it's like I aged a decade in like a week.
So Caterpillar had some interesting earnings today. That's from Dylan. Dylan wants to know what we think of Caterpillar. God, I hope that's Dylan's picture. So Caterpillar, again, I'm looking at earnings here. Caterpillar reported 425, estimates were 437. My Caterpillar chart looks weird. That's really strange.
We're not down big after hours.
No, we're not. I'm looking at reported revenue, 14.25 billion, estimate 14.75. They also guided down. So again, for some reason, my chart looks strange on Caterpillar. I'm not sure why. So I'm not going to have any personal comment on that at all. But I'll look at it over the next few days and throw some tweets up about it.
You guys want to touch on interest rates a little bit? We
What's
had
that?
some wild. Want to touch on interest rates when that 10 years busting through 450, 460, and the S&P's dropping 300-400 points a day, and I've never seen anything like that. Dow down 2,600 and interest rates exploding. I mean, it was a conundrum.
Can I throw in my 2 cents? Like that's the basis trade exploding. Same thing that happened with the AI trade in the middle of March, or I'm sorry, in the middle of February. That like you're trading just like you do in commodities. You're arbing the difference between the physical and the derivative. You're doing the same thing with at various points along the curve. And when there's that much volatility, when these trades are levered 50 and 100 to 1, like they don't always work the way that the models say they're going to work. And so what happens is like you just like when you work in these big shops and like it's someone else's money, you get a tap on the shoulder. You need to take your risk down. You need to take your risk down. Your $500 million buying power just became 100, and that's why you saw this blowout. I'm convinced from everything that I've read, like there's no meaningful sellers other than the buy side guys. Like, there's going to be a lot of private school tuitions that are going to leave some wanting in the fall, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So put AI aside, both of you. What's your favorite investment going forward over, let's call it, the next 3 to 6 months? I will tell you right now, and I just told you to put AI aside, is that mine might be that Mag 7 ETF. But so I'm taking that away from you guys since we just talked about it so much. What's your favorite thing? I know, Mike, it's gonna be hard for you.
No, look, I got a few. Like, I love Bitcoin. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have this you have this correlation to the Nasdaq, right? That like at some points we get a little
By
bit.
the way, I don't like that correlation to the Nasdaq. But go ahead.
But you got to. It's a lot of the same shareholder base.
Sure.
So when I'm getting margin calls on my Nvidia, my Palantir, my Tesla, I'm selling Bitcoin to meet that margin call, right?
Mhm.
So there's no reason for it to sell off. Where like the world has changed in terms of crypto. With this administration in there, David Sachs as the crypto czar. I'm huge Bitcoin. You got Larry Fink out there saying it could go to 700K. Like this is like that's a good trade. And then the banks, it's easy. XLF, right? Like rates are coming down. You could just go long 10-year, right? Like I think we get back below 4 as things settle down.
What do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, just basics.
The whole world's your oyster on this one.
Just a great company that's not going away. Walmart. Just go conservative and say these, somehow they're a survivor. Yeah, they buy a bunch of stuff from China, but they'll sell a bunch of shit we don't need and sell in a garage sale a few years later anyway. I mean, they're the best. They have the biggest Walmart, Sam's Club, of course, Costco, as Mike had talked about. So I know how much my wife and kids love to go to Costco. I don't know what the heck they get, but it's always $300, $400, $500. And they come home with, here's what my wife comes home with: a shrimp platter, some chicken on a skewer bullshit. I don't know. She comes home. She's probably watching right now. And she's like, I can't believe you bashed me for going to Costco. But then after she comes back from Costco, she goes to Strachan Van Til, our other store, to get the stuff, I went to Costco. Now I'm going to the store. I'm like, what's going on here?
I will tell you right now that like my wife banned herself from Costco. And the reason is I will literally go to Costco for toilet paper and leave with just toilet paper. That's it. And, considering that they have such a draw on all this other stuff, like it's not that I'm not tempted to do other things, right? I almost bought an in-home water cooler with a subscription to get these 5-gallon jugs delivered to my house every 2 weeks last time I was there. But I didn't. I bought the rib roast, which we cut into steaks. As Tommy mentioned, all I eat is red meat. Had a picanha steak a little bit about 2.5 hours ago. You buy these rib roasts at Costco, prime, right? Not all the time. Most of the time they have prime. And you cut inch and a quarter steaks out of them. And you end up with prime ribeye steaks for about $14, $15 a pound, which you just can't beat. I mean, you simply can't beat. You got to buy a sharp knife and you got to buy a knife sharpener, but that's about it. But when I go with what I wanted to buy, and I leave with that thing. My wife, $500, $600, $700. Everything's a deal. But it's like, what do we need with this Zen water fountain? What do you do with? She goes, oh, the price I got on this thing, and now next thing you know, it's out in the patio.
I thought it was just my wife that I had to explain. Like, it may cost less than it normally does, but if you spend money, we didn't save anything.
I got to give my wife credit though. And she came home one day, and we're getting off the subject. She came home one day and said, I got good news and bad news. You always give me the bad news first. She's like, I bought 9 dresses. Holy shit. What could possibly be the good news? She's like, I spent $32. She was at Goodwill.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Goodwill, where I live in Florida, is high end.
No, that's nice stuff. Yeah.
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 So last thing, guys. First, Tommy, then Mike. Where can everybody find you guys, please? Because I think this was a lot of fun for me. I hope this is fun for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tommy,
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, Agbull Media, agbull.com, commodity broker, trader, independent trader at the Board of Trade. And then, of course, I get to be on shows like this, co-host the Cow Guy when Scotty wants a day off, and just Google Ag Bull Media on all the social medias. And I love when people reach out, good or bad. You know, I know we all get negative stuff, good stuff.
Yeah.
Just reach out. It always makes my day.
Mike Lee, I'm guessing Mike Lee Strategies is a good place to find you.
Yeah, MichaelLeeStrategy.com. That's my website. You can find me on YouTube. I'm all like I think I'm like Mike Lee Strat on Twitter or X. And then and then like they allow me to go on Fox. Definitely because of my looks. So,
oh God, yeah, my into Fox is gone. I used to be on Neil's show all the time. Now that he's gone, I haven't heard from them. But anyway, you guys, I'm gonna do my best Jimmy impression now. You guys know why we do this. Both Jimmy and I are 25-year veterans of legacy media as guests. So are these two guys, by the way. And you're just not allowed to say what you're going to say. Both these guys that were with me on the show here gave full thesis for what they're thinking, not just a 5-minute blurb. Okay. And you can reach out to them and they'll comply and answer you. You say, hey, I was confused about what you thought about AI. I was confused about what you thought about Walmart or the ag picture. Reach out to these guys. This is why we do this. We do this so that you guys have a forum to ask questions live, to follow us, to chat with us, and to get your investments where you want to go. Thanks to Tradier for hosting the show. Remember, sign up for Tradier's I think it's 3 months free, Luis. Is that right? I want to put the banner up one more time just so it's up there. 3 months free. Without Tradier, we don't have this show. Without Tommy and Mike Lee, I'm talking for an hour, and this water bottle wouldn't have been enough. Thank you guys for joining us. Dylan, thank you for that time. Jim must be grilling steaks. No, he's in Italy, Dylan. He's actually in Italy, and so I gave him the week off. I didn't make him get up at this hour and do this show, but he's there with his wife, who I actually like much better than him. Guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you guys joining us. Mike, Tommy, thank you so much. This has been the Trader's Edge from Tradier and the Tradier Hub.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.